In the last video, we talked about design, that God culture created you intentionally and that your identity is not random and that your purpose is to serve others with the gifts you were given. If God designs people with purpose, then there's an opposing strategy. It's called the devil's game, and it's aimed at pulling people off mission. Welcome to Foundations of Character. I'm Scott Wilkinson, and today we're going to talk about the devil's game and how he distracts you, confuses you, and overloads you to steal your energy, your focus, and your drive. If you feel busy but you're stuck, motivated but you're drained, informed but you're unfocused, then you're already playing the game. The devil's game doesn't start with destruction. It starts subtly with confusion, distraction, overload. And when overload is when everything feels urgent and nothing feels meaningful. And the goal is simple. It's to keep you busy enough that you never become who you were designed to be. So here is the truth that most people miss. The devil doesn't need to destroy you. He just needs to distract you. You'll do the rest yourself because you're human. Because a distracted person with talent is just as ineffective as a broken person with none. Distraction always comes before the freak out, the blow up, or the shutdown. The strategy is simple and it's effective. Confuse identity, distract attention, and overload you on responsibility. Not all at once, not dramatically, but gradually. The devil's goal is to pull you off course and away from your purpose. The fastest way to control someone and get them off task is to confuse who they are. If you can convince someone that identity is self-defined and fluid or negotiable, then nothing else has to be stable. Values will shift, boundaries disappear, and purpose becomes optional. A confused person is way easier to influence. They're easier to manipulate and easier to derail. That's how the devil wins the game. Now, once identity is unstable, distraction becomes easy. You have hookup culture that replaces covenant relationships. You have corn, I can't say the other word, it replaces discipline. Drug culture replaces endurance and gives you a way to escape. The endless entertainment replaces responsibility. None of these things look dangerous at first. They look normal. They look harmless. They look deserved. But they all have one thing in common. They keep people focused on themselves instead of serving others. People feel busy, but they're unfulfilled. They're educated, but they lose ambition and their drive. And they're entertained, but they're not going anywhere. That's not accidental. That's a strategy. And here's the hard truth. Anything that keeps you focused primarily on yourself will eventually pull you away from your purpose. Purpose demands sacrifice and discipline, and service demands that you deny your impulses. And meaning requires responsibility. So the strategy isn't always to make people immoral. It's to make them so self-absorbed the immoral part takes care of itself. Another key part of the strategy is overload. Too much to do, too many options, too many demands, not enough time to do it. People respond three ways. They either freak out, they fight, or they shut down and withdraw. Every one of those things take you off task. Overload feels productive, but it's deadly to your actual purpose. Because when everything feels urgent, nothing really feels meaningful or essential. And purpose buried under constant pressure doesn't disappear, it gets buried. Most people don't abandon their purpose, they just bury it. The devil's game are especially dangerous for kids. When children are confused about who they are, their developing identity is easy to influence. When they're constantly distracted, especially by screens, they become overloaded with too much stimulation, too many options, and too little structure. Confused kids don't grow free. They grow vulnerable to human culture. Distracted kids don't grow focused. They grow impulsive. And overloaded kids don't grow resilient. They're really fragile. God culture provides protection because children don't need less structure. They need more guidance. Here's the line you need to remember. The devil does not care what distracts, confuses, or overloads you, as long as it works. His strategy only cares about anything that pulls you off your mission or your purpose. So now the question becomes, If confusion, distraction, and overload is the strategy, how are we supposed to respond? Do we stay silent? Do we retreat? Uh, do we live in fear of saying something wrong, or do we stand with clarity and courage? Now, in the next video, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about fear and put it on some mental and spiritual armor, and about what God culture doesn't call people, and about why God culture doesn't call people to hide. It calls them to stand. You were designed with purpose. Distraction is not neutral, and confusion is never harmless. Understanding the strategy is the first step to resisting it, because the devil's game only works when you don't even know you're playing it.